Hello and welcome back to Polar Night. We will be continuing where we left off, which, if you recall, is after, I believe, the crew and Garret have finally found the ship that they're looking for, but the name, escapes me. Because it's been, I want to say a year or a little more since I read the previous update. If I recall correctly, the way that they found the ship is that they ended up hitting something, or something happened to their own ship that they were on previously, and the lights were going out, the electrical was really buggy or something, and the one that was responsible for taking care of the ship, um it's not that they seemed incompetent, it's that they didn't really seem confident about the ship making it. And even the shark girl, whose name escapes me right now, all their names escape me. Only Garret the wolf. Um, Everyone seemed a little bit weird, kind of. There were some characters that were hopeful to find somebody alive. The one in the right here, the one in the cover, being the one that's like, yes, I need to find my brother. There were two sisters. I don't remember what species they were. One of them is looking for their mom. The other one is a little bit more pessimistic and is like, if we find somebody, they're going to be dead. There was a horse guy. I don't remember his name. He's looking for his friend who was I think the lead in the expedition. There was a buck. I don't remember what his connection to the original ship is. There was a rabbit who I think is Irish. I think that's it. There's the bull who's the one that's supposed to be trying to keep the ship running, and then the shark girl who was sort of like the one that's taking them on the expedition. And then there's of course the captain that we never see. But yeah, so they end up on the ship. It's completely deserted. There is a freezer which has writing on it, and it's locked. And there's some concerning paperwork and stuff like that. I'm trying to remember what happened. They were talking about a whole lot of medications which were sedatives and things to in general keep people calm and stable, or to just outright knock them out. But we really only got brief glimpses of what was happening, because the ship was not exactly a wreck, but sort of in disarray. The bridge, I recall, was sort of messed up, and from the point when I read it initially, the background hadn't been completed, but I believe that it was supposed to show that it was a mess, and when the story ends, there's supposed to be blood, I think. And I think the bowl goes missing. I think that's what happened. I mean, if I was smart, I would just go back and oh yeah, let me take notes and let's see what happened, but nah. Anyways, yeah, I think that's what happened. And we're gonna be continuing right from when somebody screams or something, I think. Yeah. Anyways, so that's enough recollecting or whatever, so let's just continue. I believe that this should be a kind of long update. We made our way as rapidly as we could down the suffocating narrow staircase into the deck below, as quickly as we could without risking slipping on the icy steps. I squeezed the screwdriver tightly. It felt so small, so pathetic against something like a proper knife. Aaron had probably had the better idea with a hammer. But regardless, it offered some small amount of reassurance. We hurried through the darkness, shadows dancing as our torches passed over open doorways, toppled boxes and trolleys, and detritus hanging from the ceiling. Wait, stop! I skidded to a stop, then leaned over, hands on my knees, as I struggled to catch my breath. Aaron did so too, though he kept glancing around, flashing his torch to and fro. Where are you taking us? Do you have any idea where we're going?" He wheezed out, but never taking his eyes off of the corridors, both the way that we came and what lay ahead. I don't. Even if I weren't about to throw up from the fear and exertion, I don't think that I could answer. I'd run on instinct back towards the main deck. From there, we'd have the choice of where to look, but... Before I could say any more, there was a sound of the metal door clanging open and the sudden inrush of frigid wind. The sound of the blizzard outside came from somewhere up ahead, and for a brief moment, a corridor leading to our right lit up slightly from the scant moonlight. Then it clanged shut again, and silence followed. I felt his hand grab my torch and flick it off along with his own. Then he wrestled me to the right side wall, placing a finger on my lips to shush me. I hissed a protest, but then I heard footsteps, slow, methodical. He looked at me with terror, imploring me with his eyes to return the way that we came. I hesitated. If it was one of the others, why wouldn't we see their torchlight? Why weren't they calling out? And since I could only detect one set of paw steps, why were they alone? I gripped the screwdriver tighter, then looked Aaron in the eye. He swallowed, looking down at the hammer in his hand, then back at me. Fuck, my ears were ringing, or buzzing. My heart felt like an alien trying to explode through my ribcage. My mouth was dry, fingers numb, tail curled upwards. The fear and gnawing knot in my stomach gave way to a heat, anger. I jerked my head towards the oncoming steps and motioned for him to prepare the hammer. He stared wide-eyed and mouthed something, but I ignored him. He grabbed my wrist, but I yanked it out of his grasp. We approached the corner, gripping our flimsy but potentially lethal weapons. Why should I be afraid? I bared my teeth. Whoever it was, they wouldn't take me like Joseph. As the figure moved closer, I got the impression the steps were less methodical and more staggering. There was a sound of something metallic hitting against something soft. And just as the figure cleared the corner, there was a flicker of light. I lunged. My speed and the element of surprise allowed me to easily force the figure against the wall. A thick haze clouded my brain. Fury, somewhere deep down, was roiling, but it felt muted, like touching your gum after dental anesthesia. I knew that it was there, but it also barely registered. Sensing the upper hand, I felt an urge to pounce and stab with my screwdriver. Put this threat down now while I had the chance. The fuck? Garret, stop! For fuck's sake! My eyes slammed shut as a bright light shone in my face. Garret, put it fucking down, right now! Before me was a tigress. Though there was fear in her eyes, her teeth were bared in outrage. My eyes glanced to my right hand. The screwdriver was inches from her face, while my left hand had clutched her throat. And then my entire abdomen was in agony, pain swooping up through my chest and taking with it any air that I had in my lungs. I was only vaguely aware that she effortlessly swept my paws. Her hand clutched my throat, and my entire world spun. The floor rushed up to meet me as I folded inwards and clutched my belly. You fucking prick! I heard motion around me, boots stepping dangerously close to my face, but I couldn't even begin to care. All I could think was trying to get my lungs to reinflate. Dana, wait, we thought... Don't fucking touch me! He tried to stab me, you saw him? Aaron lapsed into silence, leaving the pair of them staring down at me. I felt like my guts were twisting. I wheezed, trying to suck in air. Be thankful that I didn't aim lower, fucking mutt. Dana, Jesus, this isn't the time. We thought you were the killer. Why the fuck would you think that? Why didn't you have your light on? That's your fucking reason? This piece of shit flashlight wasn't working. You could have called out. But we heard a scream. Didn't you hear it? A scream? Where? When? A few minutes back. But we didn't know where. It was a woman. Maybe Tabby or Gail. I wheezed a soft groan and tried to speak, but all that came out was a whisper that seemed to remind them that I was here, in agony, on the cold metal floor. Here, help me. Let him lie there. He's lucky that I only gut punched him. Where are the others? I thought you were searching together. I got separated in the blizzard. I thought I saw someone. Who? Joseph? No. It doesn't matter. We should check on Tabby and Gail. I turned to look up at her, seeing her lip quiver in unconcealed contempt. I'm sorry. I squeaked out, trying to push myself to my knees as my lungs finally allowed me to take in some air. After another pause, she uttered and I felt two pairs of arms under my armpits hold me up to my paws. If you ever try something like that again... The tip of the screwdriver touched my nose. I swallowed as I met her eyes. She absolutely was not fucking around. I'm keeping this. She slipped it into her pocket and then folded her arms, daring me to challenge her. Of course I wasn't going to. Jesus, what got into me? I nearly... Aaron turned, beckoning us to follow, though Dana cast one last frustrated look back towards the exterior door. She growled before following me and Aaron. The sprint into the bowels of the ship wasn't easy thanks to the patches of ice. I nearly slid right down a set of stairs if Aaron hadn't caught my arm. The darkness pressed in around as we were no longer in the corridors with windows, only our torch beams gave any light. I heard cursing and the slapping of metal against glove as Dana's torch flickered again. My teeth clenched at the thought of my own torch failing. By the time that we arrived near the engine room, we slowed and finally stopped. The door leading into the machinery was ajar, and a warm light could be seen shining like a beacon in the dark. But there were no sounds, no voices. We exchanged looks. Aaron swallowed audibly and I heard his paw tapping rapidly. On the other hand, if Dana was afraid, she hid it well. Her jaw clenched and her tail swished, but she kept her gaze fixed firmly on the door. Tabby? Gail? Is anyone there? We heard a scream. I cursed my trembling voice. I did everything that I could to stop my hands shaking. Why isn't anyone answering? He hissed in a frantic whisper. Dana clenched her torch and turned to us. Okay. I could see the haunted look in her eyes, but there was an unsettling gleam too. She was a detective after all. This was probably her day job. Or maybe I watched too many movies. Garret, you smell anything? I swallowed hard as my throat closed up. I was so dehydrated that it made me briefly forget the gnawing hunger. The air was damp and musty, which was to be expected. The cold sliced my nostrils and sinuses, traces of grease and lubrication, nothing out of the ordinary for a room full of machines. I braced myself for a trace of the sickly metallic scent that I was familiar with, anything that I could recognize. The stench of terror from at least one of my companions was almost overpowering. I glanced at Donna and shook my head. Aaron stared at us wide-eyed, ears erect. After a moment, he also shook his head. Dana inhaled sharply. She gestured and slowly we approached the door. The room was painted with oily black shadows from the various hulking metal derelicts. In the center, a solitary lantern was sitting on the floor, emitting a soft hiss. Gail? Tabby? There was no sign of blood or of a struggle as far as I could see. Tools lay on the floor. None of them had the dusting of frost that covered everything else, so I assumed that they'd been in use until recently. Tabby? Gail? Rufus? She called out again, the fear rising in her voice. Where the fuck did they go? His torch beam was shaking wildly, darting this way and that, creating shadows that morphed and stretched across the room. Calm down. She hissed at him, but it was clear that she was getting agitated too. Their voices were hushed, as though scared someone or something might overhear. All right, Garret, go around that way and check around the turbines. Aaron, you go up that way, between those. Are you seriously suggesting that we split up? Again? This room is huge. It'll take us longer to search in one group. What's your rush? Do you have an urgent luncheon appointment to dash off to? Did you or did you not claim to hear a fucking scream? Guys. I held up my hands to shush them, my ears turned back and forth, straining to hear, but there was only the groaning of metal and dripping of water. Aaron, can you hear anything? Anyone? I promise you, if I'd hurt someone, you'd know it as soon as I did. Well, I can't smell anything unusual, so I don't think that there's been any evidence here. But I also can't smell Tabby or Gale, so maybe they left? What about Rufus? He was supposed to be with them. Aye, but we heard a woman scream, so unless Rufus can really hit those high notes, I doubt that it was him. So then, where is he? I shiver as I turn and pass my torch beam over the metal hulks and ruined electronics. Seeing it now, I realize how futile Tabby's efforts would have been. Garret? Tabby was right. A place like this is at least as much electrical as mechanical, and I wouldn't know where even to begin to restore power, assuming it's even possible. So, there's no chance to get power? For the radio? Listen, one thing at a time. We need to find the others and make sure everyone is safe. We all exchanged looks but nod. Despite her attitude, I was glad Dana was with us. Look, I'll go over there like Dana said. Aaron, you stick with Dana. But, do you really want to argue about this? She gave Aaron a dirty look, but he was too busy staring frightfully around, ears erected, and alert for the slightest noise. I was surprised his foot wasn't hammering a hole in the floor right now. Fuck it, fine. Stay close. And Garret? She gave me a grim look. If you find anyone or anything, shout. As loud as you can and don't stop till we get to you, okay? I swallowed. I tried to say okay, but my words caught in my throat, and I simply nodded. Why did I have to act brave? I moved around the bank of electrical panels and started moving cautiously towards the rear of the compartment. From the other side, I could hear Dana and Aaron calling out in harsh semi-whispers. My throat ached. I was parched and my belly twisted and writhed with hunger. My hands shook. I needed a smoke. I still hadn't completely recovered from the blow Dana had given me. I kept sniffling as I stepped towards the rear of the room, navigating through the long stretches between banks of equipment and machines. The stench of blood from the bridge still lingered in the back of my mind. Even if it had faded from my clothes and fur, I was braced for the hit of iron and death. The light of the lantern was distant now. My torch trembled in my hand. I called out, but softly. Something warned me that I really shouldn't be attracting attention to myself. Garret. Tabby? Gale? My head was beginning to pound and my vision was getting blurry. The inky blackness pressed in on me, like the waters of the Arctic I'd nearly drowned in mere hours before, suffocating me. I had to get out. I had to leave. A spark of anger ignited in me at Dana for splitting up and for hitting me. Who the fuck did she think that she was? My chest reverberated with a growl. My hand clenched the torch tightly, its hefty metal weight reassuring me that it could easily cause a lot of damage if wielded as a weapon. Dana? Where are you? Did you find anything? I hissed, still keeping my voice down. I swept the room around me with my light, suddenly overcome with paranoia and dread. Dana? Aaron? This time I shouted, panic pushing my voice up an octave. No, they couldn't be missing. Not again. My head was in agony now. I couldn't see straight. I couldn't think straight. God fucking damn it! I will fucking kill you two if you're fucking with me! That mosquito from before was back, drilling into my skull. I covered my ears and screwed my eyes shut. Every synapse in my brain felt like they were on fire. Take me home. I want to go home. Garret. Cold. Echoes. Swirling light and crushing dark. Where? Motion around me. Corridor. Walls were pushing past me, crates and detritus moving by. Everything swayed, stopping and staring. I was walking? Somewhere. Home? What? Why here? It it was open. Something was telling me not to go in, warning, threatening. Garret? My legs failed. I crumbled to my knees. I retched, but I had nothing to bring up. My head was in agony, like something was burrowing into it. I wasn't alone. Someone was here, coming closer. Stay away. But then the world turned into its side, and the last thing that I saw were boots and legs that stretched up and out of sight. And I didn't recognize them. I stared at my bedside clock, 11:43 p.m. I could still hear them downstairs, every once in a while, a lull, Mom's voice trying to soothe them. Each time I dared to allow my eyes to close, maybe they'd worn themselves out finally. Maybe Mom had gotten them to put it on hold for tonight. Again. But then a harsh shout, followed by a response, and it started back up again. Even upstairs behind my closed bedroom door, I could hear from both of their voices that they were both drunk again. For Clyde, this was mostly his default state, but for Connor... 11:48. I couldn't hear the specifics, only a brief word here and there. But then again, I didn't care. Connor. He had a rough time. Clyde had gotten worse in his own drinking, and Connor had ditched the smoking habit only to replace it with beer. At first, it had been drinks with friends after work. It was pretty clear that he didn't want to be around Clyde, so he stayed out late, coming back smashed only to find Clyde still up and, as was his habit, looking for an argument. I jolted as I heard a final shout, then the sounds of Pa's steps thundering up the stairs. I snapped my eyes shut, my nerves on edge as I prepared for someone to barge in. But no one did. I heard Connor's bedroom door slam. From downstairs I heard Mom and Clyde talking, or at least, Mom was talking and Clyde was still shouting. A poisonous burst of resentment flooded me. He'd wormed his way into our lives through her. Her multiple sclerosis was getting worse. Her ability to work was becoming harder. We needed support, and Clyde had a stable job. I'd never understood. Clyde was superfluously charming, but his personality was breathtakingly fake if you knew him at all. I'd seen the sweet, jovial, chummy facade turn on and off like a light switch. And once he got what he wanted, he was pure, 100% grade AAA Garret? I slammed my eyes shut and slowed my breathing as much as I could. Silence. Then he called out to me again, still quiet, almost a whisper. Even just saying my name, I could hear the drunkenness. I hated it. Soft paw steps crossed my room, paused. Then I heard something placed next to me on the bedside table. Think this is better off with you, wee man. The steps retreated and paused at the door. I had the sudden urge to open my eyes, to speak to him. Then the soft click of my bedroom door and the noise from downstairs became muffled again. I opened my eyes, and instantly my gaze was drawn by a shiny object, glinting in the soft green light of my alarm clock. No, it couldn't be. I reached for it, feeling the cold metal and grasping it tightly. Grandpa's lighter. I couldn't resist. I flipped the top and struck. Instantly it sparked into life. As expected, it had never once failed when Connor used it, but why would he just give it up? I slid open the drawer and placed it carefully inside. Maybe I'd borrow a cigarette off of Connor, if he still had one, or maybe a work colleague, just to try it out. Just the one cigarette. Garret? The bright light stung my eyes even through my eyelids. Was it morning already? It felt like I'd only just fallen asleep. Garret? Fuck off. Nice to see you too, wee man. My eyes snapped open, and the warm glow of a lantern briefly overwhelmed my vision. A figure was sitting nearby, in a chair by the desk. The hospital. How had I gotten here, and who lit this lantern? The figure stood, approaching, too tall to be Aaron or Stefan, Too thin for Rufus or Sharif. You look like shit, wee man. I knew that tone, infuriatingly smug and mocking, but my heart clenched nonetheless as memories came flooding back. Still a skinny wee rake, I see. I tried to sit up, but my body ached and I winced. Whoa, calm down. You're in a pretty dire state. I felt his hands on me, holding me firmly to stop me rolling off the bed, and for the first time I properly looked at him. Connor? He stood at the side of the bed, so close that I could smell him. His scent was layered in the stench of... I wasn't sure exactly, but it was unpleasant. Grease, iron, sweat. But it was him. He was wearing a set of work clothes like an engineer, or rather a mechanic, and all things considered they seemed in decent condition. He gestured next to me where an opened can stood with a spork next to it, a can of... meat. Eat up. You're one missed meal from becoming invisible. He gave me his signature cheeky toothy grin. I stared back and forth between my brother and the food, a 6-lane pileup of questions blocking up my brain. And then I felt my stomach twist in hunger, and I grabbed the can, shoving the spork in and grabbing a chunk of the food and shoving it into my gob. It was real meat and some kind of gravy or sauce, the sort of stuff that you keep in the back of the cupboard for a rainy day, the sort of thing dirt-poor students would only touch if they had nothing else. Smelled disgusting, not even enough flavor and stone cold. Without heat, it had the texture and consistency of oily, jelly-covered rubber. And yet, ravenous as I was, it might as well be the most glorious thing that I'd ever eaten. Good, eh? I paused mid-bite to stare at him. He looked fine. Gaunt, much thinner than I remembered. There was a haggardness to him, but the spark in his eyes reminded me of old times. Does that hurt? He motioned at my face, at my eye. Suddenly he couldn't meet my gaze. He shuffled awkwardly with his paws. The final gift he'd left me before abandoning us. I stuffed another sporkful of the canned slop into my muzzle and finally spoke. You're not real. It was a statement of fact. He couldn't be. My eyes darted to the door, to the bed next to me for signs this was a dream. He shrugged, then made a gesture with his hands. Trust me, I wish I wasn't. His smirk faded as he tried to meet my eyes again. I was familiar with when people were avoiding my facial disfigurement while trying to maintain eye contact. They fixated on my right eye, but no one could resist occasionally glancing at my left. My fringe had been brushed aside while I was asleep. If you are real, then tell me how you're still alive, and why I haven't seen you until now. He swallowed, looking away. Even though I didn't believe that he was really here, and my mind seemed to be glossing over why I was seeing him regardless, I felt a pang of satisfaction. I don't know. Fuck right off. Do you know why I'm seeing you? Maybe I'm dead or having a stroke or going insane from the cold. A flash of anger crossed his muzzle, and he stiffened, standing up from his chair. A brief flutter of fear went through me. Thinner though he was, he still had half a foot on me and likely 30 to 40 pounds in weight. He had been an athlete after all, and his job on the RN had been a physical one. But then part of me realized fear was unnecessary. He wasn't really here. I don't fucking know, alright? I woke up a wee while ago. I was on... He started to pace while I continued shoveling the meat glop into my muzzle, though I never once took my eye off of him. The twin deck, I think? How can you not know where you woke up? This was your fucking ship. I don't... He started bellowing at me, then cast a furtive glance at the door and lowered his voice to a hiss. No! He stepped closer, fists clenched. Real or not, I felt a surge of fright. I knew how volatile he could be. He quickly calmed, seemingly realizing his reaction was scaring me, and he sagged, looking defeated. I don't know what to tell you, wee man. I don't remember much. The ship, it was falling apart. The crew, at least. I think Dr. Waters? He gave a frustrated growl and stomped away towards the door. She wanted me for something. A mission. I had to go somewhere. No. He turned, not looking at me, but rather at his own hands, as he seemingly recalled some vague memory. I had to take something somewhere. He paused for a moment, frozen in place before letting out a frustrated snarl. Fucking Christ! Why can't I remember? Something about his behavior cracked my conviction that he was a fantasy or a hallucination. His behavior was so... Connor. I observed him even as I scarfed down another mouthful of the disgusting flesh gloop. Could he actually be... Mom texts you every day, by the way. He froze, turning to look at me. He looked genuinely alarmed. She does? Every single day. Hasn't stopped for the past 5 years. We met. I didn't... My blood boiled and a primal snarl escaped my chest. My lips peeled back, baring my teeth. Don't fucking call me that. I'm not a wee boy anymore, and even if I was, you'd be the last fucking cunt that I'd take it from. He seemed genuinely taken aback. His surprise turned grim and he looked away, suddenly very interested in something off in the corner of the room. I'd have thought that finally giving him a piece of my mind would feel better. It took all my willpower to not launch into a triad, to demand that he explain himself, not about the errand, about us. But all I felt was empty. Some part of me even felt guilt. How is she? Mom? Well, she doesn't have to put up with Clyde anymore. Oh, really? She kicked his arse out. He brined up. I threatened to do to him what you did to me before he went too far one night. He never came back and we never bothered to look. There was a little bit more to the story than that, but I didn't have the energy or frankly the desire to relive that particular night just for Connor's sake. He gave me a look that was a mix between astonishment and joy. That's really fucking amazing. Garret. Something I should have done long ago. I said nothing. I took another bite of the meat and continued to glare at him. Listen, I haven't met the others, and if you value your safety or mine, you won't tell them about me. Why the fuck not? Do you have any idea what your survival means? To them? Garret, in case you haven't not been paying attention. He glanced furtively at the door, lowering his voice. One of your new pals is a murderer. You're talking about Joseph? Was that his name? The bull guy? Yeah. Did you see anything? Hear anything? I heard you screaming your head off. That was when I realized that there were people on board. I was going to introduce myself, but then I saw the bridge. You were there? I was there after you left, but before you brought the tiger and shark lassies. I was speechless. I stared him down, but there was no trace of his grin. He watched me back with piercing eyes. I've been waiting for a moment to get you alone so that I could talk to you. This was the last, or rather, only moment that I had so far. But, so... Of course, the obvious question. The one we'd come out here to find the answer to. What happened on this ship? He opened his mouth to speak, but then the sound of raised voices came through the open door. He stood rapidly tensing and glancing around. I have to go. I'll find you again, but remember, do not say anything about me. He hissed the last warning before dashing for the door and vanishing into the dark corridor. Connor, wait! I stood, wincing as my leg and arms still felt stiff, but I ran as quickly as I could for the door. Just as a figure appeared. Oof! I blinked as I realized that I rammed right into her just as she reached the door. Garret, are you okay? What are you shouting for? Gail, Her eyes met mine, full of concern. I couldn't imagine Gail being a danger and a part of me wanted to trust her. But something about the way that Connor's voice had broken when he'd given me his parting warning gave me pause. It had been the first time that I could think of Then I'd heard the particular tone from him. Genuine fear. Nothing. I woke up from a dream and forgot where I was for a moment. I winced as I saw her eyes, that she did not believe a word that I said. Maybe I should take acting lessons so I don't make an arse out of myself every time that I try to lie. She pulled off a glove and placed a hand on my forehead, instantly causing me to blush under my fur. Oh, the scream. Erin and I heard. Oh, I know. I'm sorry, Garret. It was Tabby. She panicked and Rufus wandered off. I think she's embarrassed, so please don't bring it up, okay? Her pleading eyes melted me immediately. Are you sure you're okay? Where is everyone? Suddenly reminded of the missing people, I gripped her shoulders and stared into her eyes. Dana and Erin are in the mess hall with Tabby. We don't know where everyone else is. They're still missing? How long was I out cold? I don't know. Garret, you're hurting me. I blinked, confused. Then I saw the fear in her eyes with dawning horror and realized that I'd been gripping her shoulder tighter and tighter without realizing it. I released her quickly, holding up my hands. Sorry. She rubbed her shoulders and stared at me, a new expression on her face. It wasn't a pleasant one. We should meet up with the others. We need to figure out what to do. She stared me down a moment more before finally cracking a small smile. Yes, okay. Guilt threatened to boil over. What the fuck was wrong with me? First Dana, now Gale? It was this place. It was setting my teeth on edge. She handed me a torch and led the way. Our walk to the mess hall was silent. Her usual cheeriness was gone, and I noticed her flashing her torch beam urgently down the passageways and into the doorways as we passed. Scared something was lurking, ready to jump out maybe. I couldn't judge. I was doing the same. Oh, by the way? She stopped and lowered her voice, glancing furtively about. It's about Dana. I grimaced. Had Dana told her about how I'd almost stabbed her with a screwdriver? She, found a bottle of whiskey. She's been hitting it hard, too. My heart fell. She'd not exactly been subtle about her fondness for booze back on the Sylvia. Is she causing problems? No, not... I mean, she's not getting into fights or anything, just... I don't know. She got separated from Erin around the same time that you did. Erin doesn't know what got into her, but by the time that me and Tabby found her in the mess hall, she was already drinking. Bad memories come flooding back. I hated alcohol. Even the smell alone was enough to make me gag. Well, thanks for telling me, but I'm not sure what you want me to do about it. Just warning you, she seems content to just sit. But if you speak to her, be careful. She doesn't need to tell me to be careful around drunks. My eyes stung, causing me to blink. Ugh. Oh no, is it your eye? I'm fine. I pulled my bottle of Diclo out and squeezed a drop into my eye. As expected, a cool liquid soothed the pain somewhat, but I needed to wait for it to kick in. Gale gave me a sympathetic look and led the way to the mess hall. Tabby and Erin were both sitting at different tables. Tabby was hugging herself, face wet with tears, and swaying back and forth slightly. Gale immediately dashed to her side. Erin was pawing at an open can of food, judging by how easily it slid across the table and the way the metal utensil poked out it ratted around. It was empty. Then I saw Dana. She was sitting at a small table off in the corner, her back to the rest of the room. Her shoulders were hunched and her tail was limp and motionless. Gale looked up from the comforting Tabby to meet my eyes. She nervously glanced at Dana, then back at me. I wasn't sure if she was asking me to speak to her or warning me not to. But I knew how volatile a drunk could be. I needed to check on her, see if I could talk her into putting the booze away, at least for now. Not that I'd ever succeeded at that. Dana didn't look at me when I approached. I grimaced as she took her bottle, some kind of whiskey as Gale had said, and necked it. The familiar tinny noise of liquid sluicing around the bottle was joined by her audible gulp. Christ, This was all I needed. If Dana got violent, I wouldn't stand a chance. My stubby lupine claws might as well be plastic spoons compared to hers. And I'd already seen how capable Dana was in a physical confrontation. I wasn't convinced that her being half-cut would be enough of an advantage to me. Not to mention the screwdriver that she had confiscated. I paused a moment, working myself up to finally. I'd offer you some, but you don't drink. I blinked in surprise. She turned her head ever so slightly to address me, and I saw something that I never expected from her in a million years. She was crying? It's awful too. Scotch. I prefer rye, to be honest. This crap is... Lafroy? Lafroig. Of course it was. Clyde's favorite. I could smell it wafting off of her. The smoky scent that he'd found irresistible, but always just made me think something was burning. Lafroig. She sounded it out in a slurred, awkward way, like a child learning a new word. It tastes like you scraped the bottom of a barbecue and mixed the burnt charcoal with turpentine. She was quiet for a moment, then snickered, raising the bottle clumsily in a faux salute. Beggars can't be choosers. I chanced getting closer, moving slightly to one side so that I could see her face better. Where did you find it? I tried to keep my voice even, hoping my apprehension wasn't coming through. In a cabin. You were looking around the cabins? Why? I thought... Dad's cabin. Captain McGregor's cabin? That was near the bridge. How far and long had she wandered? How long had I actually been out? She loudly gulped from the bottle again, and I winced. Her voice was slightly slurred. There was real bitterness there. You and Aaron wandered off, abandoned me, so I had no choice. I went to look for someone, anyone. My heart clenched. Had she really gotten separated from Aaron and wound up all the way in that pitch-black engine room? I didn't abandon you. I got separated and what? I tried to remember when I left the engine room, but my mind was blank. A faint memory of motion. I was somewhere else. Of course you did. Another gulp. The bottle was around half empty, but of course I didn't know how full it had been when she'd found it. I swallowed, getting more uneasy. Figured that I could use a pick-me-up. She tapped the bottle with a claw. Her head was bowed and her head draped around her, hiding her face. Despite the booze, part of me was moved to pity. She mumbled something that I didn't catch through her slurred words, followed by a load of unintelligible nonsense. She gulped again, this time released the bottle and buried her face in her hands. Taking my opportunity, I swept the bottle. Its sickly caramel scented triggered anger, resentment, or sickly feelings in my stomach, but I took the cork from the table and replaced it. My heart raced as I expected Dana to become aggravated. I kept a firm grip of the bottle and watched her closely, but she didn't move. She mumbled something, her voice muffled by her hands and slurred by the alcohol that I couldn't understand. I didn't know how to react. Part of me wanted to pat her on the back to try to commiserate with her, but I knew from experience that was a risky move. The drunks that I've dealt with in my life had not reacted well to such gestures. I needed to ask Aaron what happened. He was with her after all. I backed away, taking the bottle with me. A pang of guilt gnawed at me, the profound sadness, betrayal even in her voice when she had said, "Abandoned me," was surprising from her. On my way to the hair, I passed the bottle to Gail, who took it, confused at first but then understanding. She slipped it below the table and continued to comfort her sister. I approached Aaron, who was still poking at the empty food can. I called out to him, and he twitched a little but didn't respond, just went back to sliding the empty can around. Aaron, you okay? I slid around the table to sit opposite of him and saw his eyes. They were glazed, staring at the can but not really focused. He looked awful, like he'd not slept in a week. He didn't meet my gaze, just gave a soft sigh and poked the can again. Where were you? Me? I must have gotten lost. His eyes briefly flicked up to glance at me, and there was... I don't know what exactly, but his expression was unpleasant, accusing, suspicious. Sure. Then he went back to his dazed state. His voice was non-committal, not even sarcastic, just apathetic. What the fuck had even happened to these two? They'd been fine, but relatively speaking, when I'd last seen them. Did you see or hear anything in the engine room? His ears twitched and I felt the briefest of taps on the floor. Like what? Like Rufus or June or anyone else who was missing. I tried to keep the growing impatience from my voice, but he wasn't making it easy. Out of the 10 people who had arrived here, one was likely dead and 4 were missing. I don't remember. I got lost. Aaron, please talk to me. I felt something down there. Like I heard or... I gestured, trying to find the words before something struck me. About its behavior. About Dana's. Aaron, have you seen anyone unusual? I caught his reaction. Though it lasted a fraction of a second, his foot tapped, and his ears twitched, and the can that he was poking at rattled as he nearly toppled it. His gaze, previously unfocused and groggy, looked me sharply in the eye, but this time I thought my nose caught a hint of... Why? I mean, who do you mean? Who would I have seen on this fucking ghost ship? Burnt lemons. Did you? Could he have seen Connor? And if so, recognized him? I doubt that he'd know him even from photos. He wasn't exactly an important officer, but there is no way that he'd mistake the family resemblance. He opened his mouth a few times before blurting out, No. And people said that I was a terrible liar. Aaron, please. If you saw someone down there, I was interrupted by someone entering the mess hall. We all looked around to the entrance to see. Oh, thank God. Gail beamed and waved her over. I was tempted to interrogate Aaron some more, but he was back to fiddling with the spork again, ears down and listless. Annoyed, I pushed back from the table and approached June, who had dashed over to Gail. June, good to see you're okay. Likewise, I got lost and separated from everyone else. I thought everyone else had wandered off into the blizzard. I was about to speak when I noticed her demeanor. Her voice was bright, expression upbeat, though I could see a hint of darkness beneath her eyes, betraying her exhaustion. Was it the same woman who only hours prior was in bits and pieces over Joseph? Did you find, anything? Find what? Gil and I exchanged glances. Joseph. It was the briefest of moments, but I saw it. Her eyes darted to the door, and she touched her arm. But then she gave us a solemn look. No, but I think that you guys were right. It's too dangerous to look again. I admit that the look that she gave us was a mighty effort to convince. If I hadn't just spoken, or tried to at least, to Aaron and Donna, I might have almost been convinced. You don't want to make sure? I mean, the others are still missing. Maybe somebody else found them. I'm sure. It was stupid and selfish of me anyway. I put everyone else at risk. And that was when my suspicion was confirmed. I knew this voice. The sentiment, this, oh, I was just being silly, it's no big deal. I knew it very well. It was a tactic that I knew from Mom, one that she deployed to try to diffuse and deflect attention from something. But before I could ask anything more, the sound of huffing and rapid paw steps approached the doorway then. Guys! Anyone? Dana jerked up, looking around in confusion as Stefan barged in. His eyes were like saucers and his fur matted with sweat. Stefan? What's wrong? Guys, you have to... He looked like he was going to collapse. Aaron and Dana both got to their feet, Dana a bit unsteadily, and we crowded around him as he doubled over. Stefan, take a breath and calm down. Bodies. Lots of bodies. We all exchanged looks. Dana, despite the bleary-eyed look, immediately marched forwards. Bodies? Are you sure? Never been more sure of anything in my life. Where? Take us there. Whose bodies? The Aran crew? Joseph? Stefan finally pushed himself upright and gesticulated wildly. There's this creepy room. It's got graffiti in some foreign language. It was open and I got curious. My blood ran cold. Huh? Creepy room? What creepy room? I know what you're talking about. She immediately took off, not waiting for anyone else. Dana, wait! We shouldn't split up. There's already... Dana ignored her, marching through the door, her paused steps quickly fading away. People still missing. I'm gonna go look. Me too. Tabby, are you up to moving? Tabby seemed a bit more calm now, calm enough to speak. You think, Mom? We can't know for certain until we look. This is what we came here for. Maybe I should wait here. I wouldn't want to intrude if they are your loved ones. June, don't you want to confirm if any of them are Joseph? And don't you think that it's a bad idea to be by yourself in this situation? She gave us both an odd look, then cringed and looked away. Yeah, you're right. I was getting increasingly frustrated. What was wrong with everyone? Putting it aside, I led the way to the room that I knew far more than I'd like to. I was the only one in our group who knew the way. As the darkness crept closer, I became aware of just how much we'd been relying on our torches. How long would the batteries last? We had sparse in the mess hall, along with the kerosene lanterns, if it came to that. But I'd hate to be caught in complete darkness. Through winding corridors that changed from smooth, vaguely pleasant-looking hallways to dark, decrepit passageways covered in pipes, cables, and other machinery, we eventually found our way. Dana and Stefan were both standing before the now open door. Both seemed stunned or perhaps frightened as they stood rooted to the spot. And though I felt an awful sickness in my stomach, a sense of overbearing dread accompanied that familiar drilling in my skull. Something drew me closer, like magnetism or gravity. Every synapse screamed to leave, to run, but my body moved stiffly forward. The door was heavy and sturdy. I noticed the handles had been turned. Who had unlocked it, and when? I felt a firm hand on my shoulder and glanced back to see Dana. Her jaw was set with grim determination, and even the bleariness of her semi-drunken gaze had cleared up a little. She gripped the door, and together, we pulled the heavy, rusted thing wide enough to slip through. So that's where I'm gonna leave it for today. So people are starting to act kind of strange, and apparently Connor is alive. Connor, of course, being Garrett's brother, who should be, by all accounts, dead. But apparently he's alive and well. If a little different from what Garret remembers him. He claims to have little to no memory of what happened, and that is very suspicious. Also, like I said, people are acting a little strange. Dana's, when she came back into the bridge, I think, she was, it kind of looked like she was spooked, but also kind of annoyed, and I have a theory where, what if Garret is not the only one that is seeing people? What if everyone else, or most everyone else, is kind of seeing some people? And basically, that would explain the reason why everyone is acting so strange. Because what if they're hallucinating these people? And what if these hallucinations are telling them, like, hey, don't say anything about me, So that's why everyone's acting so cagey. Also, June is acting very strange considering the fact that her maybe boyfriend, because it is hinted that they are an item, the bull guy who's missing, who is presumably also dead. Um, it's like, oh, well, it's okay, guys. You don't have to go looking for him anymore. I realize that it's very dangerous. That was very dumb of me to ask all of you to do. And it's like, girl, your boyfriend's missing. Like, you should be at least a little bit disheveled. But yeah. Um Also, the whole Stefan finding bodies, apparently. So I mean, they had already, I think, searched the boat, and they never really found anything. They just found sort of like signs of struggle. Like people were there, but there's no bodies, and now Stefan's finding bodies. So, and it seems to be that they're in the storage room that Garret passed by when he was having his little episode. So yeah. I'm wondering what in the world is going on with these people, but I'm pretty sure that it isn't just them being stuck there and then hallucinating, that there's probably something else going on. And it's probably gonna have to do with Sharif, because like he's the whole reason why they're there to begin with. He's the one that came out and then was like, oh, I found this map that shows where the boat is probably, and it was like, I don't want to say years, but I think it was like a few months where the boat was missing, the Aran, I think that's what it's called. And it's like, oh yeah, this guy comes up and is like, hey, look, I found some maps. And now they're there, but now they're stuck. So, Anyways, what are your thoughts so far? Write it down in the comments, and thank you all for watching/listening. If you'd like to play Polar Knight yourself or stay up to date with what's going on with it, you can go down to the description, which should have a direct link to the itch.io page where you can download and play the game. If you would like to support the project, and if they do have a Patreon, in case they don't, because I don't remember if they do or don't, I will be linking that down in the description, which I'm assuming gives you early access to builds of Polar Knight. And hopefully they get back on a normal schedule, because it has been a while since they updated. It literally feels like years since they updated. And now if you'd like to support the channel, you can become a channel member. And it's like a nice little way of saying like, hey, I like your videos. Here's money on a monthly basis. And I'm like, oh, cool. Here is the videos that I'm scheduling a little earlier. But yeah. And there's also Ko-fi, in case you don't feel like donating through YouTube, I guess. And there is also Throne, in case you're feeling overly generous. Anyways, so I guess that's it for now, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.